Okay, so before, during, and after incarceration is a local nonprofit group that started about 4 years ago. Tom Busamra, who is our president, along with Tony Stanfield, who is our vice president, saw a need out in the community as well as in the Grand Traverse Jail for a program that could support the needs of not only the inmates, but also their families, and recognizing that there certainly is a need before incarceration, hopefully with programming that helps with jail diversion, as well as while they're incarcerated, and then, certainly follow up assistance after they leave the jail. So, as I said before, it's an advocacy group for the incarcerated, previously incarcerated, and their families. And, our mission is to really strongly engage the community. Together, we can do quite a bit. Standing alone, it's that much harder. So success for people and their families come through support and building relationships, finding those alternatives to incarceration. And then it's important to engage the local and the statewide stakeholders so that we can make this all possible. So one of our goals is to humanize the faces of the incarcerated. Unfortunately, there's a lot of misperceptions. People don't really understand who's incarcerated or why they're incarcerated. A vast majority of the people in the Grand Traverse Jail have yet to await their trial or sentencing. So, they haven't been convicted yet. The jail is a short-term, hopefully a year or less, although since COVID and the courts being backlogged, some of those incarceration stays are lasting longer than that. But, the idea is that if they're convicted, they would move to a state prison, be part of the Department of Corrections. If they're innocent, then of course they're released. So we advocate for programs that'll improve diversion from jail, rehabilitation services in jail, and successful community reentry. So how do we do this? A big part of it is family support. Addiction and mental health advocacy is huge. Wayne State University a couple of years ago did a large study of the jail and looked at people that were experiencing either mental health or substance use disorders, or a co-occurring condition. And they found that 38% of the inmates at that time were experiencing severe mental health concerns, and about 33% were experiencing substance use disorders. And a lot of those overlap in both groups if it's co-occurring. We feel strongly that supportive release is key to prevent people from coming back, and so that they can become productive members of the community, and they're successful in keeping healthy and doing what they need to do for the community and their families. So we strongly believe in restorative justice advocacy. If someone was harmed, doing that restoration work to help the individual that might have been harmed, the individual recognizing the impact of that harm, and hopefully healing can take place through that. Communications is an important key to all of this. And then, of course, fund development so that we can do programs that are going to help the incarcerated and their families. So, family support. We provide a monthly support dinner for families. It's the second Tuesday of the month at St. Francis Parish Hall. Runs from 5:30 to 7:30. Anyone is welcome to attend that. We strongly encourage, if anybody here would like to attend, just, show up. More the merrier, spread the word. So it's not only for the previously incarcerated and their families, but also that community support network that is out there. And initially when we started, it was a lot more volunteers than it was people from the incarcerated community. That's starting to change now as people become more comfortable with being there. We have one family that has several children that have been attending almost from the beginning. And the mom says that without the support dinner, she really doesn't know what she would do, because it's become a friendship and support group for her. People help, with needs she has on a daily basis. And, it's just been a great experience for her and her kids. So we provide emotional support. We help with resource coordination for family members. Where can they go if, they're in need of housing or financial services or food? So we connect them with the agencies that are already out there and doing those kind of things. And then we update the families on our organization and what is happening out in the community with health issues as well as justice reform. Supportive Release, BDII, provides beta vouchers, clothing vouchers, and food gift cards to those who are in need at their release. And one of the grants that we recently received allowed us to assist with tethering and testing costs for those that can't otherwise afford it. That has been huge because it helps people be successful, get back on their feet, and avoid being violated for probation issues. So we're currently looking into writing more grants because that was so strongly popular. We're actually out of our original funding, and we're looking for ways that we can renew that and build a real positive relationship with community corrections as well. Our BDAI coaching program, every few years, we run a training program to train coaches that are assigned on a one-to-one match basis so that when people are released from jail, they have someone out in the community community that can assist them with resources, help them find employment, connect them with all those community agencies and nonprofit groups so that they can be stable when they get out and hopefully not reoffend. And the coach and mentee meet weekly, once released, often check in daily, via social media, so that, our phone, so that contact is there if the individual needs it. Addiction and mental health advocacy is huge. As we said before, a large portion of the jail population does have health issues related to both addiction and mental health. So we meet on an every other week basis with jail administration, getting continual updates. Tony Stanfield serves on an in-house committee that evaluates the present health provider. There was a change about a year ago, and a new provider was brought into the jail that covers both physical and mental health. We're constantly reevaluating that. Quite honestly, there's still room for growth in what is happening with that provider, but we've substantially increased psychiatric time so that individuals are waiting, probably a quarter less than they used to in order to see or talk to the psychiatrist. We recognize the need that integrated health is very, very important, but staffing has been a concern. They're still looking for a social worker to join the program so that they can be fully staffed. The Community Crisis Support Center that were known as the Wellness Center that we've been working on with another group, hopefully would really help solve those gaps in the mental health crisis care continuum. So we can talk a little bit more about that later. We're actively working to encourage law enforcement and other local agencies to look at mobile units out in the field so that when a crisis arises, if it cannot be resolved over the phone, that we can get the help that is needed actually to the site and to the individual. We also have life skill classes for the incarcerated that focus on topics of self-esteem, grieving and loss, successful communication, anger management. So earlier I talked about the mental health continuum of care, and we have gaps in the community that we really feel need to be addressed, and hopefully professional services expanded or initiated in these areas. So some of the areas in red that someday we would like to see is a psychiatric emergency room, because right now, if an individual is in crisis, they're basically are three choices: the emergency room, jail, or just recently, Community Mental Health has put in place what they call the Welcoming Center, which is a 24-hour short-term crisis triage center that triages the individual, hopes to help alleviate the crisis situation, but if not, we'll refer them to where they need to go. But that's where our gaps kind of come in, because Northern Michigan, unfortunately, does not have full-time resources that it should have in the areas of long-term crisis stabilization. So one of the things that we've been working on in collaboration with the Northwest Michigan Shire Group is to establish a Grand Traverse Wellness Center to address crisis stabilization on a longer term basis. So crisis stabilization unit would be up to a 3-day stay. A crisis residential unit would provide care up to 14 days. And then if it's still the need is severe enough, referral to a state or private psychiatric hospital would come into play. Right now, the closest psychiatric hospital is south of Grand Rapids. There's just a huge need in this part of Michigan. Children's beds, same thing. We have 16 beds at Munson for short-term residential care, but there are no beds for children. So other BDAI support services for the incarcerated, Deacon Tom, along with others, provide pastoral visits. They've just recently gone back to doing those in person. Previous to that, they did virtual visits via Zoom. And as you can understand how isolating COVID was for all of us, you can imagine how really isolating it is for incarcerated individuals. So this is just a really huge part of helping individuals while they're incarcerated. Letters of support to the incarcerated. There's an ALFI program. You can get more information on that on our website. Supporting the book and art supply collection and the library organization, so people have things to occupy them while they're in there. And we've been working a lot with the local justice reforms, educating the community on what criminal justice reform is all about, working with bail reform, and looking at ways that individuals can address their crimes with not necessarily being incarcerated. We would really like to see mental health court come back. Certainly the drug and alcohol courts were strongly supportive of. But again, it takes that support so that the individuals can be successful, because some of those courts' requirements, the bar is just extremely high, and it's hard for individuals to comply in some cases. So we also outreach to local, state, federal policymakers, and we've been doing media outreach to let people know what's available and what is happening in the Grand Traverse Jail. Fund development is a huge part of this because if we're going to be providing programs like the testing, tethering, support to families or individuals, once they're released, it takes funds to do that. And BDI is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So we do grant writing. We're presently doing a fund appeal. And communications, we do have a website. It's bdaiconnect.org. So we have resources there. I manage that. So I'm continually trying to add more and more resources. So it's kind of in a constant state of development. We also have a Facebook group that anyone is welcome to join. Just send a request and we will do that. And we're continuing to expand our mailing list so that we can keep people updated and we can help as needed. So for more information, that's our email address. And in the recording, you'll see this, and maybe we can send it out as well. Our president, Tom Bruce Samra, his phone number, he welcomes calls if you have questions, or, you can send them via the email and I will get back to you. And thank you very much.